On the count of three.
Suffolk?
Yes. 3, 2, 1. Welcome
Breakfast,
to another
okay.
episode of From This.
To that.
Amazing. The act of killing.
The act of killing.
The act of killing is... please share your
Wait,
thoughts.
zit nog laat.
There we go. We're good. We're back. We're professionals, technically. All right.
So.
The Act of Killing, a 2012 documentary. I think it was 2012, directed by...
2012?
I think so.
It's so good it felt new.
Yeah, I don't know. By the way, I could be completely wrong, but all I know is Errol Morris and Werner Herzog produced it, which you know that it's, of course, is going to be great and mind-blowing, even though to
Because
this
it
day,
was full of mayhem.
There are no words for it. We are post words with Act of Killing. It's kind of crazy that all it takes for a person to sort of acknowledge the fact that they've committed the most heinous atrocities known to man is a little bit of drama therapy. This guy, Anwar Congo, who's, it's in Indonesia. It's during this government uprising like a few decades ago where they killed a bunch of supposed communists, and they take pride in that. And so they have to shoot this film about,
Reenacting it.
Yeah, reacting at their exploits. It's like what's the word for it? It's an act of self, and I swear this is a word, hagiography.
Hagiography. What does that mean?
Which is just a sort of self-aggrandizing biography of some kind. Which is usually, people use that word when it's writing a little book about the lives of the saints. That's called hagiography.
Okay.
So, in this case, it's self-hagiography, and it takes, a little bit of self-hagiography to realize that, when you choke out a few hundred communists, that, you are in fact causing harm to the world and to people.
Just a side note.
Yes.
Either the first or the second American Idol winner did a self-hagiography.
Wait, who? Which one?
I forgot who it was, but it was a
it
black
Lubin?
woman.
LaToya Jackson?
I think it was LaToya.
Was it LaToya Jackson? Oh my
so.
God, that was the first American Idol I ever saw.
I think it was the first one.
I entered at LaToya Jackson and I left at Taylor Hicks.
She did a reenactment of her applying for American Idol.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding.
What?
Hey.
What?
Well,
Oh, that's beautiful. That's great. That's like that's like what's his name? Kim Jong Un. Who's the one before Kim Jong Un?
Kim Jong-il.
Kim Jong-il. Apparently, he wrote a little book about his exploits in the cinema and how he pioneered all these new techniques that
He also wrote that when he was born, the sun was born.
Might be true. You can't.
We?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Who are we?
You can't not
To look up basic astronomy.
Well, the guy did invent everything. He invented the Patryoshka technique. He invented the split edit. He invented smash cuts. He invented everything. Who's to say that he didn't, in fact, invent the sun?
Yeah. بس على the act of killing.
Yes.
It's the movie is so good that watching it feels like witnessing a phenomenon.
Yes.
As opposed to just watching a documentary.
Yeah.
That there are scenes that are so horrendous, but the fact that they were caught this beautifully, visceral. I had no physical reactions aside from laughter.
Yeah, that's it. There's nothing
funny,
to do.
But I couldn't It was just like
it's fight or flight or laugh. That's it. It's so bizarre. It's such a weird little thing to do. Like the idea itself is completely it's both the most original thing in the world and it's not, because it is effectively film drama therapy. Yeah. But just to go to a place that in this context, these are people who are murderers in the most savage way.
Yeah.
And they're celebrated in their culture. And not only that, they talk about it. They talk about it like, yes, I'm a gangster. I'm this. They keep bringing up this phrase. Gangster comes from the English, which means free man. And they use that as even the vice president in the movie gives a speech saying we need more gangsters. We need more free men.
Yeah.
And you look at that and he totally utilized this sort of little culture to produce something that my only response is question mark, 10 out of 10. I don't know what to do with this documentary.
And there's also this part with the guy at the end who's shopping with his daughters, and then he in the car, he's talking about how he gives a beautiful very well constructed argument about how you can't say this is not humanitarian what I'm doing and like or like savage because once upon a time the US did this, everyone else did this. Why is it when he didn't say white people, but why is it when white people do this? It's not as savage as when I do this, and I have to apologize for it when others haven't. And if ever he was like, okay, if there's a cohesiveness in human rights regulations and the Geneva Convention and all these things, I'll apologize then.
Exactly. He says if there's a Jakarta convention, then it's fair game. But he brings up that Napoleon quote, victory is chosen by the victors.
And he's like, and I'm a victor. Also, the Geneva Convention and everything that white people did it after like hundreds and hundreds of years of massacre and colonialization and all these things. And but it reminded me, it reminded me of the last speech in The Dictator.
Yeah, which one?
Which is like... a real dictatorship, and then he describes the US.
He just described
where we would fill the prisons with one ethnic group.
That is so good. That reminds me of the scene when they're on like they're on the helicopter with his American family and they're passing by, the World Trade, and they're like 9/11. It's like the Porsche 911. It's like I love 9/11. I love 9/11. It's so good.
When the woman screams.
Oh my God.
It's such so a good funny. I love a good scream.
A good scream is great. Some screams are so good that they're in every movie. There's the Willem scream. Which is the one, it's like from this Western movie where someone gets shot and it's a shot that sounds like wah, something like that. And you hear it, I made it sound like wah. It's not. But in every movie, it's become kind of a trope where now filmmakers, as some kind of postmodern joke, when a character gets shot, especially in a film that's kind of lighthearted, they will add in a sort of Willem scream.
Is it the scream from all the cartoons like SpongeBob and Dexter whenever they do a close-up and it's painted?
It's probably that. It's no. That one is right? That's a high pitch.
Sometimes like that. Might be it.
Maybe.
I think they changed
scream, yeah. But the Willem Scream, it's like there's also a band called the Willem Scream and stuff. But wait, I wanted to bring something up. This, it's you were saying about how that guy in Active Killing was bringing up like, look at all these, white people when they get away, they get away with it, and it's fine. They can whitewash everything. Which reminds me of this sort of great Phil Wang joke, which is he has one rule in that you can only make fun of accents if they have colonized people, and then he just brings up the English, the French, the Spanish, the German, the Dutch, the Belgians, the Belgiques, whatever they're called. And I just thought that was a...
Philly Wang Wang.
That's, Philly
Wang Wang. I love this guy.
No, he's so good. But yeah.
But speaking of screams, one of my favorite screams is, I keep forgetting her name, with Fred Armisen. She's
Carrie
the partner.
Brownstein.
Yes.
The one from
Portlandia.
Yeah.
Her screams are infamous. Sometimes they'd have her on Conan just to scream. Like,
oh, really?
They'd be like, okay, you have the famous scream. She's like, I hate it when he makes me do it, and he doesn't even like to hear it. So he clogs his ears and he has her scream.
How does it sound? Describe it without screaming.
I think it's more like how sudden it starts and a bit of the shake of the head. A little bit. Yeah. And it shows up in one of my favorite sketches, which is This Isn't Our Project, where everything's in our project. And then she's running from things and then she steps on the sidewalk and people are like laying on the sidewalk in gray. And they're like, this is actually in our project, we're sidewalk. And then it's like there's a plank that has like medium people, gray paint, whatever the fuck. Yeah. And then she goes home and then her parents say hello. And she's like, oh my God, today's been awful. Everything's our project. And they're like, yeah, you're in our project too. I collaborate with your dad and Japanese businessmen are about to buy you. And then she does the scream. But hey, another one is Jeff Goldblum is in this one.
Okay.
The knot store where people go to buy knots because it's the
like
most
knots,
hipster
like
thing.
actual
like
knots with rope.
Like what do you call something that's like حق البحر like
knots. Oh, I thought it was like some Portlandish, kind of like abstract.
It is abstract, but like what it looks like من برا is nautical is the word.
Oh, okay, nautical.
Is it?
Or maritime.
Or maritime, but nautical is for knots. It's not nautical, but it's nautical.
Just walked right into that trap door.
Stupid. Is it?
So dumb.
Okay.
All right.
So Jeff Goldblum is the salesman for the nuts.
Okay.
And then he tries to convince them to get like what he thinks is a masterpiece. And then he brings like, what do you call it, the glass that looks like my Beauty and the Beast?
Yes,
Hourglass?
I know exactly
what.
Yeah, wait, it's hourglass is the one that's like this that has sand coming through it.
Hey,
Are you
yeah,
talking about the little thing that's
Bell.
like
Bell?
it's a little phallocentric kind of little?
Bell jar?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, shade
I
jar.
think so.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So he brings one of those, and there's like a twig vine situation.
Okay.
And he has like this, the iPhone wire headpiece set on it.
Oh.
And then he goes, an artist makes these nuts by shoving them into his pocket. And then they buy it and they bring it to the housewarming that they wanted the gift for.
Okay.
And then the couple is like, thank you. And then they go to the basement and there's so many of the same knot. Everyone just got the same knot.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of things that are particular and obsessive, and like things that only a specific group of people are into, Fire of Love. Why did you show me something that would break my heart so?
Because it's the most beautiful documentary produced in the last how many years?
I mean, I guess you can make a case for that.
And I haven't talked this much about a documentary.
No, that is true.
Since Wormwood.
No. I know that. And Wormwood, I swear to God, I'm going to continue. But
I understand. Wormwood is slow. It's just production-wise. Like,
it's literally been an entire year, and I've only watched 2 episodes. And it's not the fact that it's slow. It's just the fact that it's TV. Yeah. The fact that it doesn't end in one sitting. Yeah. That I can't. But, like, it's so good.
And I rarely feel jealous of something where, like, when you watch something and you're like, I'm so jealous because I want to make something like this. Yes. Fire of Love is one of those things. Mm-hmm. It's that and maybe a bit of Gondry, but I don't want to make fiction. Yeah. So it's Fire of Love. No, like it's the animation, the Foley, the red caps, the references.
It has the bravura form of a fictive work, and yet it is entirely, documentary. Yeah. That's what's so great. It's almost as if the filmmaker was like, all right, to make an art project, I'm just going to take, instead of, producing, she could have produced a phenomenal garden variety sort of documentary. Like it would have been typical, but like their story is so compelling on its own, even if you presented it with no effort whatsoever, it still would have been great. But the fact to take it and just treat it as her little, like there are parts of it that look like Koyaanisqatsi. Yeah. Where it's like the most beautiful shot. It's like...
It matches the narration as well because it's very poetic, but it's factual.
It's very nice. You have Miranda July's little soft voice.
Yeah, it's a little bit like mine when I'm nervous. Like a bit...
I get that. Like, there's like that nice little... quiver. It's like the sort of like that little the thing, what you call it, and then it's like a little.
That's with the volcanoes.
That's exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. I forgot what it was called. Geiger counter, whatever. Roentgen test, whatever.
Richter.
Bechdel.
No, get Richter's for the earthquakes.
Richter, whatever. But like
Bechdel test.
Yeah. But it's also like the footage they shot, just on its own, just compositionally, is so beautiful and so perfect. And it's one of those things where I never thought I'd actually see the actual beauty of a volcano. Volcanoes to me are like horses. People seem to love them. But I look at a horse and I just see a very, very large dog. And once dogs get, a little bit bigger than this big, I'm like, I'm good on dog, no more dog. But I look at these volcanoes and the footage is so tactile, just so beautiful. It's like the most tragic slime video I've ever seen in my life. These 2 lovers that died in a plume of smoke.
Which also makes me pay attention to the fact that because they're such wonderful and talented cineasts, that the problem that an editor would face here is the abundance of footage. Yeah, is too many options. It's not. So you'd have to be a sculptor in this case.
No, absolutely. Which to me just gets me off because I look at that and I just think, it's the thing that little cute little cliche they say about jazz where you wonder like it's all about the notes they don't play. Like I imagine from the hundreds of hours of footage, what's the stuff that the documentarian did not put in, Yeah. Because I look at this and already like if this is the footage that made it, this seems to be a case that these are sort of master cineasts, Yeah. That probably all their B-roll, all the stuff that was on the cutting room floor is as beautiful and can make its own little 5 separate mini documentaries. This documentary could have been 6 hours long and it would have been.
But it could have been
as
3
good.
other documentaries.
Yeah, exactly.
Different ones.
Yeah, no, I look at that. I love the other. I mean, there's we brought this up before, but like the Beatles documentary, which is 9 hours long, culled from 150 hours of footage. You know.
Yeah.
You have even like They'll Love Me When I'm Dead, the Orson Welles documentary about the other side of the wind, and you look at that and you're like, that documentary. It's apparent they had a lot of footage because it's so quick. It's like
that documentary is actually my favorite Orson Welles thing.
Really?
That and everything that is inspired by Orson. Like sometimes I don't like a person, but I like the culture around them.
You don't
much
like
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but Lin-Manuel Miranda's a dork. I want to stuff him in a locker every time I see him.
But he makes fun of himself for that, and that's
true.
what I like. I don't like what he makes. I like him appearing in things.
Yeah.
I like my favorite Lin-Manuel Miranda thing is a thing that never happened, which is Fetwa from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh my God.
It's so good.
You showed it to me once.
Yeah.
It was on an iPhone. It was like 480p. It wasn't even 720 or 1080.
Yeah.
And even then, through the pixelated faces of Lin-Manuel Miranda as Salman Rushdie.
as Salman Rushdie and what's his name? He was also in the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Abraham.
Abraham.
Oh, yeah, Salieri, the guy played. Yeah,
and he was the
Ayatollah. Ayatollah. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. It's one of those things we should just take a moment of silence, just play it on the green screen and just let it sit and try not to get sued by HBO. That which we not speak of.
Right? That's okay. It's been playing the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, what was I going to say? What were we talking about?
Orson Welles, you're talking about a culture around someone.
Yeah. So, what I kind of also like is it's extremely hipster and extremely arrogant, and I will relish in it. I will seep in it.
Amazing. Will you luxuriate in it?
Luxuriate in it entirely. Yeah,
okay.
Entirely, 100%.
Okay, go on.
Is anytime someone watches Fire of Love and anything Cousteau, they'd be like, "That's so Wes Anderson." You fucking idiot! You
guys, it's the opposite.
You're late. You're late. You're lame and late.
Lewis, like, it's the other side. It's the other way.
This guy lives in Paris and refuses to learn.
He doesn't
French.
learn French, you know.
He comes to set in a corduroy jacket.
I know, right? Can you imagine appropriating French culture like that to come in and he doesn't even know how to say Philly Wang Wang. Est-ce que je peux aller aux toilettes? All right. But I think it's really interesting, with the exception of Truffaut, that the biggest influences on Wes Anderson aren't really filmmakers. Jacques Cousteau and
scientists.
And the volcanologists, you know. And you look at that and you're like, I feel like they could have only been as original, Cousteau and the volcanologists, because they weren't filmmakers. Because, let's say, they weren't as familiar with the pre-existing forms the cinema came in, you know? So they can just do their own little goofy things that, you know.
What really bothers me about people that think they like Wes Anderson are people that think Wes Anderson is symmetry.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
So stupid.
It's the accidentally Wes Anderson thing.
Accidentally Wes Anderson, and it's the trends on TikTok, which are beautiful. I will watch them every day for the rest of my life. My problem is...
You know Wes Anderson doesn't. He specifically brought them up. He says his people are good at protecting him from seeing that kind of thing. Because if he looks at it, the thing about it, it's like that SNL sketch, you know, the one which Alec Baldwin narrated, which is like the coterie.
With what's his name?
With
Edward Norton.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It was done so well that you're like, if I were a filmmaker, frankly, I would be like kind of embarrassed that shit, they got my style down that correctly. Like it could have been a Wes Anderson thing.
Wes Anderson had his style, his actual style, not just like aesthetically.
Yeah.
From before his style, which is Rushmore.
Yes.
Every Wes Anderson film has adults acting like children and children acting like adults.
Yes.
Every single one.
Yes.
And that's a thing that you see so strongly in both Fire of Love and anything Cousteau.
Yes, exactly.
Do you remember that scene when Maurice Kraft had his leg burnt from the volcano?
And
that is so Wes Anderson.
Yeah, it is.
And they're like, I can fall into a hole.
It's just fucking gross, though.
Exactly, it's really gross. Like they have like some.
And they weren't speaking in a quiet staccato.
Yeah,
no,
and it's
my foot.
It's basically Schwartzman's. Whose face was right? Was it Schwartz? Was it Brody? Brody's face in
Darjeeling or
in Darjeeling Limited.
Yes.
Whose face was wrapped? Was it?
No,
Brody?
it was Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Wow, the third one
God,
with
that
the
movie's
broken
so
nose.
good.
Oh wow.
That's a film I watched and I'm like, no, and then I watched it again. I'm like, no, and then I watched it again. I'm like, yeah. I love it.
Do you know Warris, the Sikh guy that's in Wes Anderson movie?
Oh yes, yeah.
One time they interviewed him. I think it was the Today Show or something, and they were talking about how Sikh men get harassed for being Muslim.
Yeah.
And it's part of their principle to never correct people.
Really?
Because it's like, why would I throw my brother under the bus?
That's the most tremendously beautiful thing I've heard.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then Warris was interviewed
nice.
and he's like, every time I try to defend myself, like in terms of representation, it doesn't work. And he's like, what do you mean? Maybe you should be more mainstream movies. And he's like, I am. And he's like, no, white people movies. And he's like, I am. And he's like, what are you? And he's like, I'm in Wes Anderson movies.
It's like the whitest movies. Yeah. Wow, that is good on that. Lovely guy.
Lovely guy. Also,
yeah,
very beautiful eyes.
He does.
Beautiful
oh my
eyes,
God, you got lost in them.
Yeah. You should follow his Instagram account, House of Warris.
I refuse. Oh yeah. Okay. I will. Fine.
Maybe you should. You shouldn't actually.
Why?
Because I forgot why I recommended it.
Okay.
I was just like eyes.
Okay.
And that one interview.
Does he curl up his mustache like this?
No, he doesn't. But he's
like
very
that.
Fashionable.
Okay, I respect that.
Yeah.
You know what? Big fan of Wars. Interesting.
I don't like it when people have their mustache curled up.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like I curl up I don't know what that is. What is that?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I've curled up 2 men's mustaches with products. I'm like, hey, you should curl up your mustache. It's like
you were for a moment you went back to your basic schematic and was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do and curl men's mustaches.
No, it's more like Narnia.
Narnia.
No, I'm Mary Poppins. I'm there when you need me, but you don't want me.
With pomade, you know. It's really cinnamon pomade.
Cinnamon pomade.
Like turning the kids into Aryan youth. You know? But yeah, interesting thing about Darjeeling Limited. Remember the mechanic in the Darjeeling Limited? It's towards the last third of the movie. I think that's the director of Single White Female, Patryoshka.
Jed.
Yeah, that's it.
Don't remember him.
Yeah, no, he's that.
I remember the Indian woman.
Yes. Oh, my
so
God,
pretty,
gorgeous,
so
unbelievable. Pretty. Yeah, and Jason Schwartzman, just with that little mustache of his.
Yeah, I can't get enough of Jason Schwartzman. I cannot get enough of this man.
Yeah.
Bored to death. I've watched this show so many times.
Is Bored to Death the one where Jim Jarmusch is on a bike and he just keeps circling?
Yeah, that's the one I showed you.
That's the only thing I've seen.
Yeah,
and again, you showed me that on your phone in a car.
Yes, I did. It was like, and that was the first time I ever saw Zach Galifianakis.
Really?
So to me, he was like a complainer, New Yorker, fat husband, stay-at-home comic book artist.
Okay. So you avoided the sort of Hangover gateway to Zach Galifianakis.
I'm so glad I knew him before The Hangover and before.
He was great in The Hangover. This was good. I remember.
Of course, he was great. He was the one that made it. Like he is The Hangover.
True. I had a period in 9th grade when it came out where it's like, all right, I'm going to try to be a real human being for once in my life, and I watched The Hangover, and I got it on DVD when I went to Bahrain with my family, and then I watched it when I came home, and it was all right. It was fine.
رحت ديوانية بعدين؟
Oh no, I didn't.
الرنج ما يطيح من جيبك.
I just can't. I couldn't. That was too much. That was like, already you just saying that. I'm like, let please, Papa. Papa, let listen.
I'm gonna go take a shower now.
I'm gonna take a shower to wipe off all the gabut off me.
Yeah. What other references does Wes Anderson use?
I mean, they're all kind of just references. I mean, it's like his entire. Some people can argue that his entire filmography is just Louis Malle's Zazie dans le métro, but like, you know, scaled way back, which is one of Richard Ayoade's favorite films.
Which you can see that from Submarine. Yeah. But also, The French Dispatch was inspired by The New Yorker.
Yes, it was. Yeah. He was very inspired by a specific like editor's career in The New Yorker. I forget.
A specific editor?
One specific editor in particular. I forget who it was, but it's super famous.
They mentioned them somewhere.
Yeah. And it's really like The French Dispatch is one of those films where I saw you could see people and it's like a dividing line where it's like, all right, I stuck with the Grand Budapest Hotel. It's clearly his logical endpoint. He can't get better. I actually do agree with that. And then French Dispatch came out and they were like, all right, Grand Budapest Hotel B-side. And then they left. I think the French Dispatch is great, but it cannot be like truly great because it will always be in the shadow of Grand Budapest and also the Timothy Chalamet story in it. I felt you could cut that out entirely.
You could have, but you needed pretty. Forward. Even the girl that was very like pixie.
Oh yes, yeah, that one. Well, it had a great that entire part. The song selection was phenomenal. There's that dollhouse shot where they're in the cafe, and it sort of just moves beautiful. In, and then there's a song, I forget which, but it's so good. But yeah, but the Jeffrey Wright story, the Benicio story, I really liked.
Yeah.
And of course,
the Owen Wilson was brilliant in it.
Oh my God, she was so good. Just the even the art in the movie was great.
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Brody was great in it. And
he was.
What's his name? The Fonz?
Winkler. Henry Winkler.
Yeah, Henry Winkler was his uncle.
Who was he in that?
He was his uncle, the collector, and they were like, "This is the most beautiful sparrow I've ever seen."
Oh, yeah. He was good too. All right, watch it. It's good.
Speaking of the New Yorker.
Yeah.
You know what started...
Yeah?
You know what started as an article, and then became a book, and then became a movie?
Yeah.
And then became a movie about a movie.
What?
The Orchid Thief. It was a New Yorker article that got expanded into a book.
Okay.
And then was given to Kaufman to turn into a movie, which he couldn't for a year, so he made adaptation.
Yes, which is like the greatest act of winging it ever conceived in cinema.
Yeah.
Just the fact that just write about, like, because everyone has that idea of when, especially like if you make movies or something like that, where it's like even when I was 16, I'm like, all right, I want to make a short film. But if it doesn't work, I'll have someone film me fucking up this short film so that at least I could salvage something out of it. He turned it into like an Oscar-winning screenplay, you know?
Yeah,
he invented a brother.
Did the twin win something?
The twin actually was technically the co-writer. Yeah. So, so of course he won it alongside Kaufman. And
beautiful.
No, that's great. It's literally the perfect little cherry on top.
Oh,
that's
great.
the word.
That's
Nice. A little
glitter.
Cherry. Yeah. That's the word.
Yeah.
Cherry on top. It was
my favorite part in adaptation is when he is on the set of being John Malkovich, which makes it like more great. Of a Russian...
a Patryoshka doll.
A Patryoshka doll.
Or Matryoshka doll, one of those.
Yeah,
maybe a Matryoshka doll. But that was great. That was like, I love the Kaufman cinematic universe.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Maybe the only thing missing from I'm thinking of ending things is a little like foray into his previous works.
But I'm thinking of ending things is already such meta.
Yeah.
That like le meta.
Yeah, meta.
Le meta.
Yeah.
Okay. That's gonna be a book I'm gonna write about chronology. Le meta. Okay, Amar.
Phenomenal.
Can you do this?
I actually can't, but I'm gonna try.
No, make a vacuum. فكر عليه سكر. لا سكر حاجك. شوف سوي كذي. سوي بالون. ليش تحط حيل داخل؟ You're not a fish.
Okay.
Let's see. Bye.
ما عندي أنا لاحق معاكم ترى.